Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to really get into one of the most profound pieces of spiritual wisdom ever recorded. We're opening the Bhagavad Gita to chapter 7. It's called Nanavijnana Yoga.
And that title, the yoga of knowledge and wisdom, that's the whole story right there. For the first 6 chapters, Krishna has been teaching Arjuna the means.
The how.
Exactly. How to
hmm
act, how to meditate, how to sort of regulate the mind. Arjuna has the mechanics down, more or less.
Okay, so if the first part was the instruction manual, this chapter is, well, it's the map of the destination itself. Krishna promises he's going to declare the complete science, the essential knowledge of God's nature.
And he says it so perfectly that by knowing it, absolutely nothing further remains to be known.
That is such a bold universal claim. I mean, nothing left to know.
It is, and the sources are really clear that we need to distinguish between knowledge, that's gnana, and what they call true wisdom, or vijnana.
Okay, so help us unpack that. What's the real difference between knowing about God and, actually knowing God?
Well, jnana is the intellectual stuff. It's knowing that God is the creator, the support, the controller of the universe.
Yeah.
You could probably ace a test on it.
Right.
But vijnana, that's wisdom. It's the direct lived experience of that knowledge. It's not just seeing the theory, it's feeling that reality in every single breath.
Well, we're moving past theory to a kind of radical, practical realization. It's like the difference between reading a blueprint for a house and actually standing inside of it.
Exactly. And the text makes it clear that there's a condition for this. God doesn't just, broadcast this ultimate wisdom to everybody.
Right, it's not for just anyone.
No.
Yeah.
He reveals himself completely only when a mind is attached to him in exclusive love and surrender, established in yoga with undivided devotion.
Mm.
It requires you, the listener, to be spiritually prepared.
That context is vital. It means this knowledge isn't passive. It has to be earned. So let's jump into the core science Krishna lays out, which starts with this idea of duality, the two natures of existence.
He begins by detailing the fundamental building blocks of the cosmos. He calls this the aparo nature, the lower or material side of things.
And what's fascinating is that this isn't just a physics lesson. The Aparanature has 8 categories, and they're half physical elements and half, well, psychological ones.
Right. You start with the 5 big physical elements you'd expect: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. But then the list immediately turns inward.
To the mind, intellect, and ego.
Yes, the 3 psychological tools we use to navigate reality.
Okay, but that's a major philosophical point right there. Why are mind, intellect, and ego lumped in with, dirt and air as part of the material nature?
Because they're still instruments. They're changeable components that make up the field of our experience.
Yeah.
They're the tools we use, but they are not the ultimate source of consciousness. We just mistakenly think they're our self.
So what is the ultimate source then?
That's the para nature, the higher conscious nature. This is the jiva-like aspect, the ultimate spiritual energy that actually sustains and animates the entire lower material world.
So all of reality, everything we see and feel, it comes from the mix of this inert material nature, the apara, which includes our bodies and minds.
And the conscious, sustaining life force, the para.
Right.
Precisely. And in putting these two together, Krishna makes this absolute statement. He is the origin, the sustainment, and the dissolution of the entire universe. He is the fundamental cause of everything.
There's nothing else.
Nothing. No other supreme cause distinct from him. It's the ultimate assertion of unity.
And he just cements that idea with that famous, unforgettable analogy.
Yes, the visualization is so powerful. The entire world is strung upon me like pearls on a string.
I love that line.
Think about it. The pearls are all the separate things. You, me, the planets, atoms. But they're held together, given their form and structure, by the invisible thread, the sutra. That thread is God.
It emphasizes that there's no space, no gap between reality and the divine.
None at all.
Okay, so that image puts the thread at this huge cosmic level. But if he permeates everything, then he has to be right here too. In my specific actions, my choices. How does the text bring it down from the cosmos to our daily lives?
That's the beauty of the next section. Krishna starts detailing his specific manifestations, his vibhutis, as the essential quality within things. He is the essence that defines the truest characteristic of everything.
So he's not just the cosmic thread, he's the actual flavor in the water, the radiance in the sun.
And what's so amazing here is just the sheer breadth of it all, It spans nature, spirituality, humanity. He is the essence in water, the light in the moon and sun, the sacred sound of Omkara in the Vedas.
The core of spiritual sound.
Right. He is the sacred fragrance in the earth, the brilliance in fire, the life in all beings, and the austerity, the tapas in ascetics.
And crucially, he also shows up as the highest forms of what humans strive for. The intellect of the wise, the vigor of the energetic.
This is where the teaching becomes deeply ethical and, immediately applicable to you, the listener. Because if God is vigor or power or intellect, then how you use that power matters immensely.
How so?
The text says Krishna declares himself to be strength that is free from attachment and desire. And conduct this is in accord with dharma, with righteous action.
Well, I have to stop you there. That completely redefines what power is. We usually think of power as just influence or raw ability, full stop. But Krishna's saying strength is only divine if it's detached from the ego's wants.
Exactly.
So does that mean a successful, driven person who's chasing wealth for their own gain, even if they're not hurting anyone, are they missing that divine mark?
That is the fine point. Strength and power are necessary. They're divine gifts, but their proper dispassionate use is what makes them godly. Using power to harm others or just to satisfy your own selfish desire, that is explicitly not godly.
The strength has to align with dharma, with that moral compass.
It creates a simple metric, really. Is this action serving a higher purpose, or is it just serving my ego?
That makes perfect sense if you're aligned with the string, but we know most people aren't. So what stops people from seeing this? This is where the idea of Maya and the gunas comes in as the big obstacle, right?
It raises that fundamental question. If God is everywhere, in everything, why don't most of us see him? And the immediate answer is the three gunas, the qualities of material nature.
Sattva, rajas, and tamas. Purity, activity, and inertia.
Yes. All feelings, all thoughts, all actions are born from the interplay of these three. And because we're always under their influence, we're deluded by them. It stops us from knowing God who's beyond the gunas.
So that's the veil of delusion, the trigonmaya maya.
Which is described as being incredibly difficult to overcome. You should think of Maya not just as an illusion, but as a cosmic magician. The magician is real, but the trick making the untrue seem true. That's what traps the audience.
So the unreal, fleeting world of ego and desire looks real, and we miss the actual reality, the string hiding in plain sight. We get absorbed and forget.
It's the ultimate distraction. But Krishna gives the solution right away. Only those who single-mindedly worship God, who take refuge in him, can get past this web.
So worship and surrender are the way out of the magic trick. And Krishna, knowing people, he points out that they approach him from different starting points. The 4 types of devotees.
It's all about motivation, and it's useful to see where you might fit. First, you have the distressed supplicant, the irked, who only prays when they're suffering.
The person who calls God in an emergency.
Exactly. Then you have the seeker after gain, the artharthi, the one who prays for a better job, more wealth, tangible success.
Then the level starts to rise a bit.
Right, to the inquisitor, the jijnasu, who is genuinely seeking to understand. And finally, you have the wise knower, the jnani, the one who seeks nothing because they've already realized the truth.
And of those 4, the jnani, the wise knower, is the highest. They're the most dear to God because their whole life is just a state of constant realization.
And the sources really hammer home how incredibly rare this person is. The sage who, after many, many bursts of striving, realizes that Vasudeva is all. That person is exceedingly rare.
It suggests the journey is long. It takes lifetimes of persistence.
Which highlights the danger of spiritual shortcuts, which Krishna warns against. He sees people performing rites to other deities just to get something they want.
It's not a judgment, though, is it? It's more about consequences.
It's entirely about consequences. When a devotee worships some lesser being, or even just wealth, God might grant them what they want, but the key word there is perishable.
So if you invest your devotion in something temporary, you get a temporary result.
Precisely. Those things are fleeting. But worship of the one imperishable God, the true string, yields an infinite, unending result. Liberation. The root of the mistake is just. It's ignorance, fueled by attachment and aversion.
Raga and veil.
Yes. It connects directly to Patanjali's 5 roots of ignorance, identifying with the body, attachment, aversion, and that ultimate fear of death. That's what keeps the veil of Maya pulled down tight.
So the Gita's solution is selfless action combined with dedication to destroy these karmic ties. How does that work exactly? How does selfless action clear the path?
Well, the process is kind of dual. First, by practicing noble, desireless action, you destroy your past stored karma. It's like you're clearing the slate.
You stop the negative input.
Yes, and by acting without attachment, you prevent any new karma from accumulating.
Yeah.
So you stop the input and deal with the existing output at the same time.
And that leads to the ultimate goal, unwavering knowledge at the final hour, at the moment of death.
Those who take refuge in God and strive to escape that cycle, they come to know Brahman, the whole inner science, and the true meaning of action.
And to really solidify this, Krishna says you need unwavering knowledge of 3 critical domains.
Right. These are the 3 domains needed for liberation. You have to know the Adhibhuta, the material domain, then the Adhidaiva, the divine domain of consciousness, and finally the Adhyaja, the sacrificial principle, the unity behind all action.
The material, the divine, and the action that connects them.
Exactly. The person who sees all of these as expressions of the oneself and stays steady-minded in their devotion, that person is not disturbed at death. They attain God. That unwavering conviction is the final payoff.
This chapter, Jnana Yoga, has really lived up to its name. It's provided a complete declaration of God's nature, from the basic material elements all the way to the highest consciousness.
And it's the synthesis that matters. It shows you how to direct your strength toward Dharma, how to move past the delusion of Maya and the gunas, and to arrive at that incredibly rare realization that Vaseva is all, that the divine is everything.
And we heard that out of thousands who strive, maybe only one actually gets there. Most people get sidetracked by laziness or pleasure or lesser goals. The path to becoming a jnani is incredibly steep.
So if true wisdom isn't just knowledge you collect, but a direct lived experience, then the question for you to carry forward is this. Krishna makes this wisdom conditional on radical surrender. Given the demands of your life, how do you make sure your efforts aren't just about striving for intellectual knowledge, but about prioritizing that quiet, dispassionate action needed to become that exceedingly rare knower? What does radical surrender even look like for you right now? Something to think about as you continue your own deep dive.